I'm already successful. I'm doing about 6 million a year. I dropped out of college, so I moved back home with my family. Obviously, it's very humbling when you move back home after you drop out, right? So from there, kind of started being low key and trying to figure out what I want to do next. They're making most money on their courses, right? For me, I've had my own income on building my brands and scaling my brands. All right, cool. Let's get into it, my boy.
Kendall, my man. Hey, what's going on, man?
Bro, it's Taco Tuesday, getting some work done. Got some friends visiting,
Right.
So I wanted to make some content with my boy,
Right.
drop some gems, and see how we can, offer some value to people that are just trying to start off in the
Exactly.
online space.
Yo. So, I mean, the way I found out, because we've known each other since we were little kids. Like,
Yeah.
we grew up with each other, and we haven't talked in a few years. And then when I started my own marketing journey, my own marketing agency journey, I came across Emon's video
Right,
where he had an interview with you.
right. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, and so I just go, you know how that goes, going down the YouTube rabbit hole and everything.
Right.
So I found out about you, and then just wanted to reach out and like see how you're doing now, and how that video came to be, and like where you started with all that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I met Iman. I never actually met him in person, but I've been in the internet space for about 7 years now. I started in 2015, and I got in originally with influencer marketing and meme pages. That used to be a really big traffic channel back in the day. But now I'm mainly focusing on drop shipping, building my own brands. It's been a great journey. I got my first 2 comma club for ClickFunnels last weekend. So most people aren't really patient when it comes to entrepreneurship. So there's highs and lows. And everything you're doing, it's like I'm a really big believer in cause and effect. Everything you're doing now, you're gonna reap the benefits from it from a year out, 2 years out, depending on how consistent you are. So that's how I kind of actually don't even run an agency really anymore, but that's how I got to do an interview with Iman. I bought his course just because I respect him. I like what he's done. He's young, very successful, and I'm really big on investing in yourself. I feel like a lot of people that want to get into the online space, there's no college degree that's going to teach you how to do this. You really got to learn from others, either by being around them, so paying to be in certain rooms and masterminds, and then also just by buying courses. I'm actually about to release a program pretty soon because I have a lot of people that want to get into e-commerce and have been messaging me about it. So I'm going to be building something out for you guys. So that's kind of like the how from a high level, but it's been a long journey, man.
Yeah. So you said a lot of things right there. So I guess what I want to start off is you're like the highs and lows, and you've been doing this for years. So
Right.
because you started this back in high school, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get started with doing e-commerce? Like when you were 16, you said you started?
Yeah. So I got in, really, that's a great question. I got into e-commerce because of Ty Lopez. He had a course, SMMA course, and I was like able to make like $2,000 closing like a local gym and like a doctor's, a dentist, but I didn't know how to run their ads. And like the course module was very broad on how to run ads. So I was like, okay, I'm going to pivot into drop shipping because at the time there's some influencers like Adrian Morrison, Dan DeSilva, who's a friend of mine. They were posting a lot of content on drop shipping and like really social media. So I was like, all right, I'm going to teach myself drop shipping because if I can learn how to run ads for a physical product, running ads for a local business is pretty easy. So that was like a whole 2-year process. And then from there, I just started having very small wins, like stacking small wins. I had my first winning product, which was a hoodie that said Wakanda Forever on it. This was in 2018 when Black Panther released. Do you remember that? Yeah. So I had that. And then my good friend at the time was selling like fake AirPods. So I helped him with his store a little bit, learned how to run some Facebook ads. It was really just a lot of trial and error, right? There's no like one simple way to have success, but you just gotta like be patient and have money to really test and try things out. So that's kind of like how I got into the space. And then actually from there I ended up working at a marketing agency called Digitalism. I had a college lacrosse scholarship to the University of Tampa because I played lacrosse and football growing up. And when I was at Digitalism, I got to work with Coca-Cola, Rolls-Royce, Patron, the Miami Marlins, so some big corporate brands. And we scaled that company to about $60K a month in about a 15-month time period. And then I ended up leaving that company. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I dropped out of college, so I moved back home with my family. My parents, obviously, it's very humbling when you move back home after you drop out, right? So from there, kind of started being low key and trying to figure out what I want to do next. And that's when I ended up buying Iman's course, just because I knew he had a somewhat successful agency, and I wanted to learn. The biggest nuggets I got out of that weren't like the agency practices, but more of like how he carries himself, his life, things like that are like intangibles. So from there, I got into his course. I scaled my agency from like 0 to like 20K a month pretty quickly in the real estate space. And then after that, I was like, I didn't really like working with realtors, to be honest. And I had some e-commerce clients on the side. I was trying to figure out if I should niche down to e-commerce or do real estate, because I know having a niche is important. You know, if you guys are starting an agency or any really service-based business, we were just talking about this earlier, about understanding your ideal clientele and your niche is super important, because that's how you want to productize your service. What I mean by productizing your service is if you're able to get similar results and have a similar process for the same type of client, then you don't really have a business unless you can duplicate your success multiple times. And I think that's what's allowed me to have a lot of success in the e-commerce spaces, because I focused on, okay, at least stay in this one niche, one industry, and go wide in one industry versus trying different things. I think when you start off, you got to try Forex, try drop shipping, I recommend trying everything, or really finding something that really sparks your interest. For me, that was, e-commerce. Now it might be sports betting. I got into sports betting a little bit, right? So you got to find what sparks your interest and what you play to your strengths. I was always a good marketer. I was actually really bad at sales until I met my buddy Jordan Nazario. We were cold calling. We were cold calling lawyers, actually trying to sell them on the phone. So I kind of learned how to do sales, and that's when I really started to pick up with my agency. Once I learned how to sell to people, so that's kind of like the short story. But it's super important. Sales is like one of the best skills you can get as an individual, because it's not just going to give you skills in your business. You're going to have skills in life, in dating, in negotiations. So it's super important.
Right. So I guess the next thing I want to ask you is, what skills do you think all agency owners, or like, e-commerce or dropshipping, like, what do you think they should focus on trying to learn first?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. I think agency owners and e-commerce, like, I would split those in two different things. Realistically, I kind of do both. I have a handful of small clients that I still work with, but now I would say I have my brands and then my agency, like my boutique agency, where I have like 2 or 3 clients that are paying me 5-10K a month. It's pretty high ticket, right? So, and that's something where I like really want to work with the business, and they usually reach out to me. I'm not really like looking for new clients. But in terms of the agency, there's like really like 2 sides to the agency. There's really like, this is something we actually paid Grant Cardone and his team, paid them $40,000 to learn kind of this, right? There's like 6 pillars in the business, right? Like your operations, your sales, your marketing, your fulfillment, your team, and then really like overall how you're just handling the business, right? So on the agency side, the first thing is like I would focus on having a good product, right? Like if you're able to get consistent results for your clients, I've had an e-commerce agency and I've had a lead generation agency in the solar space, right? So I've seen both sides, and the reason why the solar agency did so well is because the fulfillment in terms of getting the results for the clients was very duplicatable and very easy to do, right? Because we're running the same type of ad, same offer, just in different markets. So the first thing is understanding how to do that, right? Understanding how to do the fulfillment, because a lot of people, they're going to go look white label and all those things, and that's great, but you can't build your business long term. So what I would recommend is like, first, like maybe finding a couple white label people and using them in your ad accounts. So basically, when you usually white label, you're usually pay them the ad spend, but you're going to want to have it under your own ad accounts, not so you can copy what they're going to do, right? Because that's not really ethical, but more of trying to figure out like their strategies and how they're getting results. And then from there, after you learn how to do fulfillment, and like you need to learn how to run ads yourself, because you can't run a business without knowing how to do everything in the business. You don't have to be the best at it necessarily, but you need to understand it enough to execute on it. So after I found a white label, and Facebook has something called the Facebook Blueprint, where you can go through on Facebook and they'll teach you how to run ads, things like that, from like a very basic level, and then YouTube. So after I had the fulfillment down, then it's really like sales and marketing, which we call flow. So the flow is like what's coming inside sales and marketing. So sales wise, that's like a skill that you just need to practice with time. If you're a single male, right, dating and sales is very, very similar. With the way you're interacting with women is like a prospect, quote unquote, is the same way you're going to be, not the exact way. Obviously, it's like a business interaction and there's like an emotional interaction, but it's still very similar. You have to be witty, understanding, and learning how to build rapport. So I recommend like going through some sales courses or sales programs, or even investing in some, because selling is like, that's a skill that is being built over time, right? So definitely sales, and then from that, marketing. So for me, the way I started off initially, I didn't start off, you can go to 0 to 20K, 10K a month without running ads, right? You really want to run ads to scale, and there's different types of channels that you can use for marketing. So when I had my lead generation agency, my realtor agency, we'd use cold outreach, Facebook groups, Facebook posts, LinkedIn, cold email, right? And also like learning marketing is important. You want to turn yourself into an attractive character. So what that looked like for my e-commerce agency is I also ran my own brands, right? So the way I marketed myself is I practice what I preach. I have my own e-commerce brands, but I'm still posting content and I'm still marketing to other e-commerce business owners and posting valuable content to them. So while you're doing all that, you want to turn yourself into a personality brand for your niche. That way you can become an authority in the space. So really it's learning how to market and attract customers, which is like flow, then conversion, which is like learning how to convert them, and then ascension, which is basically like getting them results and then selling them for more, right? Your biggest clients are going to be the people that have gotten results from you, that trust you and invest in you. So it's like, this is what we learned from Grant Cardone: flow, conversion, ascension, and then like ongoing in the business. So that's like the agency side. The e-commerce side really is like, there's not like one set skill, but if I was to say anything for e-commerce, it would be direct response marketing. So understanding copywriting, just because media buying on e-commerce is not that complex. You need to have a couple $1,000s saved, but once you understand direct response marketing and creative, which are like direct response is what encourages people to buy, why are they buying, their core desires, their stages of awareness. Because before even internet marketing, there was people that would have newspapers and they basically these big advertising agencies like Mad Men. And what they would do is basically long story short, they would basically use copy and writing to go ahead and attract their ideal customer, right? So once you understand that, then you can go ahead and, long story short, be able to convert them into your customers with obviously your words and your writing. But outside of that, also understanding creative, which is like an aspect that you can go on YouTube, you can go on Google, all those different things, right? But really understanding, like, if I'm trying to sell, for example, a knee brace to an older woman, I'm not going to show her an ad of a 25-year-old kid, right? So that's what I would say, like creative and copywriting, because learning how to build a website and all that stuff, like they're skills that you can do, but they're not like super complex,
So going off what you said, you mentioned Iman and Grant Cardone, which are two, pretty well known in the e-commerce space and, selling stuff online, real estate space.
Right.
So for you, what do you think are like, 2-3 guys, maybe a little bit less well known, that you think people could learn a lot from, or people that maybe you learned from that really helped you get to where you are now?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think in terms of like specifics, there's so many people on YouTube. I wouldn't be able to say someone off the top of my head. I'd really be able to say, like, first you have like your core fundamentals with your mindset. So like books I like is like The Compound Effect, The Slight Edge. So those books are going to talk about are really like the importance of like taking consistent action multiple times over an extended period of time, right? So that's super important. But outside of that, some people off the top of my head, I really like Sam Ovens, because you want to look at the people and the type of content that they're posting and how big their businesses are, how established they are already. So Sam Ovens, Patrick Bet-David, outside of that, like Ray Dalio and some other people that are like really high level, and you want to also look at, like, for example, like you can go on YouTube and look up podcast interviews from successful founders, right? So like if I was starting an e-commerce business, I can go and look up like podcasts from other individuals like myself, or even like other successful e-commerce founders that are doing that. And there's also content from like billion-dollar companies like Steve Jobs, Apple's, like Airbnb. So a lot of that information is on YouTube. But really, I would just encourage people to go on YouTube University to get that initial knowledge and like take action. And then like when you're struggling, like you don't have to buy a course to start off, right? You can join a Discord, you can do all these things. And then once you're struggling, that's when I recommend to invest in yourself. I recommend to take your own action. But if you're looking for like a blueprint or a mentor to help you, that's when I would recommend to like buy a course or something.
Right. Okay, so the other question I had was, I think this is what like really sells people, especially like on YouTube and everything, is people always see that 0 to 10K in 30 days, 0 to 10K in 60 days. So what would you tell like 16-year-old Kendall just starting out, like what's the best way? I don't want to say the quickest way, because there's no really quick way. You always have to learn stuff. But what would you say is the best way for people to get from 0 to 10K?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if I was going to tell myself the best way to get from like 0 to 10K a month, first thing I would do is tell myself, this is funny, get a job, right? Like you need capital. So let's say I had like 2-3 grand stacked away, just because you want to have money like to spend and then have your savings and your lifestyle, right? So first of all, like don't even start until you have that, right? And then the first thing I would do is I would get into Amazon, or Amazon really, just because it's a pretty simple model, like online arbitrage. I personally never did this, but like I know a lot of friends that do this, and we're gonna be teaching this in our program. One of my good friends, but really, like I'll go. You might see this on TikTok all the time. Go to TJ Maxx or something and scan a product on Amazon. If it's selling for, if it's $10 in TJ Maxx and it's $20 on Amazon, right? Like that's like the most simple way to do that, just because A, like you don't need to have like a high amount of knowledge to do that. It's really just like arbitrage. And then B, also it's like pretty straightforward in terms of like what you need to do. But getting from 0 to 10K, like making 10K is one thing, right? But consistently making 10K, you need to have a business. So I would try and find a niche. So the agency space is getting more competitive, right? So I would try and find a niche, for example, maybe starting my own drop shipping store and something that I was passionate about that I can make TikTok organic content with, right? But it just really depends, like 0 to 10K, it's like a super broad, to not give you like a vague answer. It depends on who you are and what you want and like what you want your life to be. So if you don't want to have to deal with clients, right, then you might want to get into the e-commerce space. But the downside of the e-commerce space is you're going to have more risk than an agency, just because you're going to have to spend money on marketing unless you do TikTok organic or you have a way to get traffic for very cheap and free to your website, right? If not, you're gonna have to learn how to become an advertiser, how to write copy, how to make image ads and video ads, how to build a website, how to find products and select products that are gonna make people wanna buy. And not that you can't do that, but people that are doing those challenges, you have to also realize it's not like, oh, I'm a brand new individual making a 0 to 10K challenge, right? For me, I can go to 0 to 10K easily. That's not shit to me, right? But I've been doing e-commerce for several years versus a beginner, right? That 0 to 10K challenge is really marketing and hype, and it does work, right? But it's not you can't do the same thing as them and expect to get the same results, right? So my advice, if I was going to do a 0 to 10K, I would get a job and try and teach myself a skill, a fundamental skill from a high level first. And so what fundamental skills are like, what I mean by that, guys, is there's several skills in the online space that you can have that can generate you income. So for example, for me, I know A, high ticket sales, B, I know copywriting, C, I know media buying, D, I know how to build websites. So those are all skills that you can monetize, not only by selling your services to someone else, but also for working for someone, right? Like I've worked for people, I've worked for brands, I've worked for clients, I've had clients, because when you have a client, you still do, even if you have your own business, you still do work for them, right? So first, I would focus on one fundamental skill. For example, that might be content creation for you, and focusing on that skill and then leveraging that into a venture, whether that's with a service-based business or you're doing something for yourself, whether you're selling something for someone, using that to get to 10K a month. Don't think so short-sighted, because getting a 10K a month is cool, but no, you want to consistently hit 10K months, right? And for you to consistently do that, you need something that's more tangible and a skill. That's why even if, for example, I learned media buying, right, in my program that I'm going to be releasing in the next couple of months, where I show you how to become a media buyer, right? So if I'm a media buyer, I can go work at a marketing company and make $4,000 a month. So even if I have working at another marketing company, I'm going to be learning, improving my skills, right, on someone else's money. And B, also, I can still, doesn't mean I can't not go do something, but you still need to have those skill sets. So high ticket sales, copywriting, if you're a really good creative, maybe making content for brands, right? And then media buying, like those are the ones that I see that are the most valuable skills in the online space currently. And then using that to go to a venture.
So with your course that you're making, what made you want to make your own course, or what do you think is going to be different about your course specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, honestly, I just was at the ClickFunnels event, and one of the things that made me want to make my program compared to, like I've had a course in the past, I've had probably 2 courses, but I have not like had something where it was like, oh, that asset was 100% mine. I had business partners, and I'll most likely have a partner in this one. But the main reason why is because the thing I see in the information space a lot, and personally, this is just my opinion, and this is why I think my course would be better than most people's, is like the information space and running, for example, let's say I have an e-commerce business and I have an e-commerce program. Well, the thing that you're going to see is the course business is going to be much more profitable than running an e-commerce business. Not saying that you can't make more money with the e-commerce business, but a course business, unless you build it to be a certain way with certain enterprise value, as in it's not just attached to your personal brand. You have coaches, you have a community, and you build the course into a brand that's an asset that can be sold. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to do that just for how people buy things, right? So that's why I haven't really like pushed the course too much this year, because I've been focused on my own brands. But the reason why I want to get into it is because I'm already successful. I'm doing about $6 million a year in my own e-commerce portfolio between my stores, clients that I work with, and my own brands that are outside of ARC, which is what I'm wearing right here, my main company, right? So most of the people that are doing courses, they're making most money on their courses, right? For me, I've had my own income on building my brands and scaling my brands, and I feel as if I'm way more advanced than the people that are selling most people that are selling Shopify courses, at least in the niche that I'm going to be entering in, which is like really the African American niche. Not saying that there's not going to be other people of other races buying from me, but something I learned from scaling this brand called the Skin Deep, which was a relationship card game. I took this brand from 500,000 to 5 million a year in a year. And in their card game, they had people of different races playing their game because this was during COVID and not many people could go outside or things of that nature. And the algorithm really is going to optimize based on your race, right? If you see, for example, and this is not weird, this is just a cognitive bias. If you see someone that looks like you're more likely to click that ad, and the algorithm knows that. You can't go on Facebook and say, oh, I'm going to optimize for targeting black people, white people, right? But you are like, that's just how human psychology works, right? So I feel as if a lot of people that are in the space that I'm going to be entering to, they're not doing as many numbers as me. They're not as advanced as me. And I feel like as a course seller, you're obligated to consistently scale. Like you're not consistently scaling your own business that you're selling a program on, then I feel like it is a little unethical in a way. That's just my opinion. I don't hate on it because I'll never hate on someone for because most people that are selling courses are making more money than me on my course. I'm not making anything.
Right.
So that's like the first thing. And then the second thing is I want to make this like, it's going to be more of an all-inclusive program where not only will I show you how to do drop shipping, right? But it's like more of, like I said, focus on those skills and also like way to build up income. So you're going to learn how to run ads. So you can, if you do well and you want to work for a company, you can, intern at a company or work at a company as a media buyer. But also I'm going to have someone, I have two people I'm talking to right now. I'm not going to say their names, but I do want to help people get into Amazon, right? I'm not an Amazon guru, but I do believe that it's important. And also if you're a beginner, getting into Amazon is a very easy way to make income. So I'm going to include multiple Amazon sections from FBA, FBM, online arbitrage included in that offer, right? And I want to build that out. There's not really a timeline on launching yet, next couple of months, but that's what I feel like will be different. And then we'll obviously have coaching on the back end. I might do a couple calls a week. I have a couple people that will be coaches, but then we'll have something like more high ticket if they want high ticket coaching. But yeah, that's the reason why, I saw a lot of people making a ton of money, and like I'm so busy with my own brands. So I want to help other people, but also, have something. Because I have a lot of people that reach out to me, they want to learn from me, but I don't have the time. So I want to make a digital product, that I can pass off.
Right. So that actually leads me to one of the questions that I did want to ask you, which is a little bit of a deeper question. Like, you go down the YouTube rabbit hole, you do YouTube University, you like learn all this stuff, but pretty much everyone you see doing it is white, right? So I want to ask you, like, what's the challenges or something different you've seen just being black and being in the e-commerce space?
Bro, this is actually funny. There's nothing different, bro. I think the internet, it's funny because when like, maybe like networking wise, it might be a cognitive bias. Like obviously as black people, we are a minority, our race has been through a lot, but nothing's different. I feel like in the internet community, I haven't really dealt with any racism, like none of that stuff. Like the beautiful thing about this is no one really cares who you are. Like, so there's like the people in the community and then there's like the consumers, right? So the consumers, they're not going to know who you are from an ad, right? Then your customers, your clients, if you have a service-based business, they're not going to care. You're going to actually see a lot of black people only want to work with black people, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't care on race at all. You work with whoever I want to work with. But yeah, I haven't really encountered anything. It's honestly, if anything, it's made me get more respect from people. But I think that's a limiting belief. I think in any industry, regardless of what industry you go into, whatever your age, gender, races, etc., if you just believe that you can focus on your skills, like people are going to respect you regardless. That's one reason why I feel like a lot of people struggle. You just got to focus on what you can do and what you can control. You can't control if someone's being racist or if you're experiencing any of that. I haven't experienced that in business one bit, honestly, because why would I have an issue if you're paying me,
Right.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity in the black space, with black products, things like that. But it's not just like, you don't want to set yourself in a silo like, oh, I'm only marketing to this brand, right? So
Right.
what about you? Have you experienced anything?
No, me personally, I haven't experienced anything. Obviously, I haven't like networked as much as you or met as many people as you, but no, I haven't experienced anything. Just doing content creation. Like at the end of the day, like they love what they see on the video camera, so it doesn't really matter who's behind the camera,
Right.
when it comes to all that. So, I guess another thing I would ask you is, what do you think it is about you? Because you were talking, yeah, I made 20K a month doing real estate. So many people would I don't, maybe people that aren't there at that level. All right. So you're talking, got to the point where you're making 20K a
Right.
month doing the real estate and everything. And so many people, like, they would just get to that level and just chill and just try to automate the whole thing. But you stopped that agency, made a whole nother agency, then stopped that and started doing your own thing. So what do you think it is that drives you, that makes you want to, like, keep being uncomfortable and keep pushing for
Yeah.
more?
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like if you get comfortable, like, I don't know, like I have this post my buddy sent me, like pressure makes diamonds. Like I'm a true believer in like if you want to grow, like you always need to be uncomfortable and like in stressful situations, not in stressful situations, but like putting stress on yourself to grow. And like I don't know, I mean, I've been in a place, I mean, we're all young, right? So we're still learning. I've been in a place where I've been comfortable. Like last year I was comfortable. I was making good money. I had two places, a new car, a nice watch, like, and all that stuff can be taken away if you're not like consistently growing, right? So I think a big part of understanding as an entrepreneur is growing is like I said, the book's the slight edge and the compound effect. Like you will never be comfortable if you're consistently working 14-hour days, going to the gym, eating, focusing on your business, right? Like and prioritizing yourself, right? Like it's very hard to be comfortable like that. Like even right now, like I honestly didn't even have time to record the interview today. Like, but you're my boy, so I was like, okay, I'll do it. Like, fuck it, right not, right? But like you always gotta have stuff going and really just being organized with like what you want and your goals to hit. So I feel like yes, it's like you definitely go through seasons of comfortability. Like for me, like when I moved to Miami, like I was going out a lot and like getting comfortable because I knew I was like, okay, I'm still gonna make a quarter mil this year if I don't go hard. But like that's still like there's a risk with that because you're an entrepreneur and you own your own business, right? So like I think that, and then also like who you're surrounded with. Like most of my friends, I make less money than like 98%, 90% of most of my friends, right? So it's like if you're only surrounded by people that are doing less than you, then like you need to get in bigger rooms, get in environments, and pay for that, right? Like, for example, my business partner Robert, I met him in a mastermind. I paid 10K for, right? I would have never met him if I didn't pay to join that mastermind, right? So obviously, like being around like-minded people and people that are doing more than you is super important because if you're not doing that, then you're just going to be complacent pretty easily. So you can, if you want to get comfortable, like that's your fault. Like everyone goes through that, and like you also got to enjoy life. Like like I've been single for a couple of years. I've had a girlfriend when I had a business. I like to go out, I like to have fun, right? So like if you're just working all day and like you don't have any fun, any social life, and like there's no balance, you're gonna burn out. So like having a balance, but like an unhealthy balance, like 60%, 70% work, 30% play. So what that looks like for me is, for example, I've been working since like 9 a.m. today, so I'll probably work until 8 o'clock. So I woke up a little bit late today, and then hang out with this girl that I'm dating, right? So I'm still gonna wake up in the morning and get back to it, and it's every single day. So it's like almost like the no days off. It sounds corny, like definitely like take a day off during the week, but like something that when I was doing is you got to sacrifice your weekends initially too. Like okay, I might not go out. I might work from 8, 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday until I don't know 7 p.m. I might eat and work out and stuff, obviously, but still sacrificing your weekends and putting those extra hours in. Elon Musk has a video where he's working like 110 hours a week, right? So like he's working. If you're working 80, 90-hour weeks, you're gonna get double the output, essentially, right?
So you talk a little bit about work-life balance, and I've heard some things where it's like they don't believe in that. I like an Ecom video I watched where he's like, I don't believe in that. It's all seasons. You kind of talked about seasons and everything, but there is one thing I wanted to mention which they might not know, which I saw, and just from talking to you, is like being in the gym. Like how much you gain? Like what, 40, 50, 60 pounds into a couple years?
I'm like 180 now. My highest was like 190. I think.
Yeah.
I think my highest was like 190. I'm like 180 now because I've been traveling a little bit. But yeah, since we last saw each other, I was probably like 140, 150. Yeah.
I guess what I want to ask you is like, how much of you being in the gym do you think has helped or correlated to your life or your business? Do you think that's
Yeah, I think it's super important. I think as a business owner, regardless if you're a man or a woman, even if you're not a business owner, you're just in corporate America. My dad worked in corporate America. He still does for over 30 years in the tech industry. And it's like you look at yourself as a pie chart, right? So like you have your faith, your family, your friends, like your significant other. That's like your social life, your religion, whatever you believe in, right? I believe in God. Your social life, your religion, and then also like those who are around you, your network, right? That's like a part of your pie chart. Then your health, right? It's like your diet, your working out, like how you also carry yourself, your appearance, right? I have a hat on because I don't have a haircut, but like how you carry yourself, your appearance overall, like just that's a big part of it. And then like also like how you're educating yourself, so your success, like what you're learning, learning from people, things like that, going through courses, books, mentorships, events, and then also just like your work, right? So it's like a full pie chart, right? If you can't be, you got to be disciplined in like the little things to be disciplined in the biggest things. And the biggest growth periods of my life was I was sober, so no drinking, like I'll celibate, like no sex, like focusing on God, going crazy in the gym and just working my butt off. And like I also have a social life and go out because like I'm a very sociable person. I can't just be locked in. Like if I work till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and I'm not gonna do anything. Like I'll actually like get low key annoyed or like not depressed, but like I'll be like pissed off, So like it's a balance in everything.
Right. So I guess another question I want to ask you is like, where is Kendall in 5 years? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years from now, dang, this is a crazy question. 5 years from now, so I'm 22, I turned 23 in February. So 5 years from now, well, first, like I definitely want to be in a significant relationship. So my future girlfriend slash wife, you'll be seeing this interview definitely because I feel like it's important. Like I'm not gonna make all this money and then like, and not have kids or family. So like have a long term relationship. And honestly, 5 years now, this sounds kind of crazy. I can't even really think that far. I can think like more like at the max 2 years. I feel like because I feel like as people, like I can have my 5 year goals, which like, okay, like I have a $10 million net worth, for example, like. I made $1 million, but my net worth is not like a million plus, maybe a little bit. Maybe I include all my business assets. It's $1 million, but I'm saying your net worth is in like, for me, what that looks like is $1 million in a bank account. Like that's what I consider a millionaire, not a million net worth. Just because, for example, I have a brand that's worth 700,000. I have my portfolio company is worth like let's say 5-6 mil, right? Okay, well that doesn't mean I'm a millionaire because I can't pull liquidity from all those assets immediately to get $1 million, right? So for me, at least, I would like to be at 10 mil net worth. So maybe that means like 3 to 5 million liquid realistically, because your net worth is going to be through real estate, things like that. I'm actually trying to get into Section 8 real estate and things of that nature. So that significant relationship, I mean, I don't know. That's really all I can think of, off the top of my head. I'm so young, like I feel like I haven't seen the world. I got a lot of experience, but yeah, I mean, what about you? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years, bro, I definitely want to like my content creation agency and everything. I just want to be at the point where I don't have to go out everywhere and shoot everything. Like I'm just kind of managing everything, getting that going. So, like you said, like your goal is 10 million. I haven't even really thought about a goal, but I definitely want to have at least a few million. Yeah. And like just in a like as a net worth and everything. So like living down here in Miami, like this is definitely where I want to move to. Like I love the lifestyle down here and everything. So that's definitely something I want to get into.
Miami's an amazing city. A lot of distractions, but it's important just like dial in and focus. When I first moved here, I was pretty distracted, but now I'm like, I haven't really gone out in like a couple weeks, 3 weeks, which is like pretty big for me. So I'm just been focused on my businesses. And
so what made you want to move down to Miami?
I lived in Tampa for a while, and I want to be in a bigger city. I like feeling small. I lived in Minnesota and Tampa half of last year, and not that you like in a smaller city, you can dominate a city, quote unquote, and that's awesome. But I like feeling small. Living in Miami, you see out here like there's houses over there that are worth tens of millions of dollars. You see Bugattis, supercars, and a lot of different things. And money isn't everything. It's just like the mindset. A lot of people that have success. It's good to admire. Not obviously like how much money they have. That's cool, but how the type of individual that they had to become to get into that position. So that's why I moved here. Do I live here my whole life? Who knows? I've been here for about a year, so we'll see what the next year holds.
So one thing I have heard that I want to ask you about is we all hear the saying, money doesn't buy happiness. But then I've also heard people say, well, you can't say that, or like, I'd rather cry in a Bugatti than a, Camry or whatever. Yeah. And then there's also the other side that's like, you can't say that until you've made money. So I just want to hear from you, like, do you think money's brought you happiness, or, just your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I think happiness doesn't have to derive from money. I mean, there are port, go to Africa and you'll see kids, like I have 2 team members in my company that are in Kenya, and you'll see kids in Africa, they might make 100, $200 a year for all we know. I don't know, right? But they're living their best life, but also it's like the people they're around, like what they're doing in their lives, their health. There's like a lot of things that play into your happiness, right? So for example, if you're not working out and you have a shitty diet, right? Like I've been in that stage of my life where I wasn't eating right, wasn't working out, and like obviously like I wasn't as happy as now, where like as long as I'm consistent in the gym and I'm making progress in my business, I pretty much don't really have much to ask for, right? So I think money definitely does buy happiness in some ways, but it's not because you've made money. All money is, to me, the way I view it, view success is like money is a byproduct of the value you bring. Now, obviously, there's people that are unethical, right? That have unethical success or quote unquote easy success, right? But it's a lot easier to be happy. You're gonna have money. You have when you have a lot of money or have a business, you have money problems, right? Not I'm poor, but you have issues and challenges to overcome with customers, your clients, your products, etc. Right?
Right.
So you're gonna have more stress, and then you're working a 9 to 5, right? You still might have stress at the work, but you don't have any really liabilities because there's no risk to you. So more risk, more reward. But I do believe money does it's really easy to be if you're poor. It's a lot harder to be happy if you're poor than it is if you're successful in a certain way, whatever that looks to you, or even making where I would say the bare minimum for me is 60K a year, 5K a month. So the way if inflation 2,500 of that's going to rent,
Right.
regardless of where you live, at least 2,000 where the world's at. So I believe also certain money can't buy happiness in certain things. Money will give you a happy relationship, but it's not going to give you that connection, right? But if you're taking your girl to McDonald's, bro, right?
Right.
There's certain things, the pros and cons. So I believe relationships, your health, and also business wise, relationships and health, and those you're surrounded with. You can have good friends without money, but also we're adults, right? If my friends aren't on money moves, okay, I can hang out with you and stuff. We're all busy individuals, so
Right.
I'm not gonna go out of my way. Versus my friends doing something business wise, or they're at least trying to do better, even if they're working a 9 to 5, right? Which is completely fine. I have a lot of friends who work 9 to 5, a lot of family members, but I like surrounding myself with people that are, I wouldn't say abundance is the right word, but growth minded, right? So it's very hard to be, if you have a growth mindset, you might be unhappy, right? Because happiness comes and goes, right?
Right.
Am I happy right now? No, I got a lot of stuff to do, but I'm not I think content with your life is a really big thing. You need to get content as in, okay, I'm not happy. Happy is woo, so hype, yeah, at a party, a club, that would describe this content. Not happy, not like that, but not fuck, I hate my life.
Right.
So I think it's being in that fine line, and then just being uncomfortable. So you got to have the Iman said, and I even said you have to have those seasons, right? When I first moved here, I was super happy, super excited, right? But now, okay, I live in a penthouse in Miami. I got a lot of business. I have over 20 employees, right? So I have a lot of things on my shoulders. But would I say I'm unhappy with my life? No. Would I say I'm happy? I mean, not really. I have bigger goals, bigger aspirations, you know?
Okay, so I guess the other thing I wanted to ask you is, dang, what was I just thinking about? Oh yeah, so this is kind of a little bit off topic, but I started looking at more the nicer things and just looking at the lifestyle, and so I guess there's really two questions I have. One is gonna be about the watches later, but two, this kind of comes off the watches is manifestation, and I like doing my research, so I did a lot of research on you, and I saw you have one post where you went to the Rolex store and you took a screenshot back in I think it's 2017, 2018, and then a few years later you bought that.
Yeah.
And then the BMW, the M4 that you have. Oh shit. So yeah, the BMW you have, the M4 you have,
Yeah.
that was also your dream car. So do you think manifestation is real? Do you practice manifestation, or how do you feel about manifestation?
Yeah. I mean, I would say first, M4 actually was an Audi guy until one of my close friends had an Audi, and I was okay, it's nice, whatever. It's cool. I would say that was my dream car. I'm gonna be 100% honest. It's more of this is gonna sound a little snarky, so we won't probably post this, but it's it's an entry level sports car. My first car was a Mustang, and then I got an M4. So I really like it. I'll be content with that for a really long time because it's fast, but it's not okay, I don't have a C8 or a 911 or a Vantage. There's really levels to cars. It's a good $50,000, $60,000 car, right? Which is still very nice, but there's way more, right? A lot of my friends have cars that are double mine, $100,000, $200,000 cars. I believe manifestation, but I more believe in God, honestly. I think, if you just believe in manifestation and all that stuff, it's cool, but I have a relationship with Christ. So that's a really big part of my foundation in terms of, okay, yes, manifestation is real, but really it's kind of superficial in a way. I believe it's okay, you have money, you can really manifest anything you want, to be honest. It's more of you reap the rewards. For any parting part about that Rolex post is, I didn't even remember taking that picture. I was just going through my camera roll and I saw that when I was in Miami, and then I almost bought that watch at the mid to the top of crypto in December of 2020. Almost bought that watch, almost sold maybe 10 ETH at the time, which would have been I think maybe about no, almost sold maybe 20 ETH 15, 20 ETH, which have been like Ethereum was at like 3 to 4K at the time, so it'd been like 8 to 10 grand. And then I'm just buying it in July of 2021. And I sold my first watch for undisclosed reasons, but I sold that watch in February, March. But to answer your question, yeah, manifestation is real. Like I definitely believe having goals and stuff, but like getting a supercar, getting a watch, all that stuff, like it's not really gonna make you much more happy if I'm being honest. Like it's good, it's cool, like it's good to check up goals off, but like you're really gonna have like your happiness come from within, not like superficial physical items, you know. I definitely believe upgrading your lifestyle like will actually like make you it sounds kind of crazy, but make you more unhappy than like happy, because the thing is if you're making 150K a year, right? And let's say you go through business struggles and you might have a down year, right? For me, I would consider this year a down year because last year I had 3 businesses cash flowing. Now I have 1, 2, right? So I'm still making great money, but nowhere as I was in the past. Not in the past, but obviously if you have a business go down, you lose an income stream, which I'm not complaining about. Life is great. But, you know, if I had to downgrade, for example, when I totaled a car, so I could not downgrade from an M4 back to a Mustang because once you have that taste, you know, it's like dating a really, really attractive woman, right? Okay, so once you like, for example, I'm not gonna like, I've dated some beautiful women in my life, so I'm not gonna. If you have a certain standard, you're not gonna want to go below that, right? That's what I really believe manifestation money does. It's good and it's cool, but like that's like, you got to be spending very minimal time on that. I'm not the type of person to, and there's nothing wrong with this if you are, but I'm not the type of person to wake up in the morning and start thinking about manifestation and all that stuff. Like I do believe that's like good to have your goals. Like I've had vision boards and stuff in the past, but it's really not going to get you much. Like you're like I think those people are like, oh, I'm manifesting all this stuff, blah blah blah. Like, it's good, but like I'm type of like Drake's this line. I'm type of pray for it and then go work for it, bro. Like you just got to work. Like you can manifest anything outside of like relationships and things like that. I think for men and women it's very different. You know, for me, how I view that is okay. I want a motto wife, like that lyric, right? But for me to get there, like okay, I'm focusing on the type of person that I'm becoming, and that's going to manifest that individual into my life versus me just like going out on all these dates and dating apps and all this stuff. Like you just got to focus on yourself and what you want.
Right.
How do you view that?
Yeah, I actually agree. I think, like how you said, like men and women, it is different, you know. And I think as a man, if you want like a beautiful woman, highly sought after woman, you know, who has great values as well and believes the same things you do, I think to get to that point, like you can't chase that. You have to chase, you know, your purpose and your vision and everything. And then once you do that, like then it will come to you because they'll see, okay, he's aligned with what he wants to do. He's accomplishing great things. Like that's what it's gonna take, in my opinion. That's what I think it is. So yeah, I agree with you on that. I completely agree with you with that on everything. So I guess another question I had is like, what do you think is like, how do I put this? Do you think having a business partner is a good thing to start off with, or would you like if you're starting off a business, like you wouldn't try to get a business partner?
I think it gives you like a sense of security, like a false sense of security in a way. You know, I didn't really have business partners like that were significant. I mean, I did like my first marketing agency, which was Maverick Media. And that was like in high school. I had my business partner Corey, who was my best friend at the time. And then going into another venture, I ended up having a business partner. But I think you need really less partners. You got to really get to know people before you do business with them, right? In terms of like a partnership, not like a service based relationship. So I would say you can have success yourself, but like you need to know your strengths and your weaknesses and work to your weaknesses. So for me, my business partner Robert, he's like, we're pretty much opposites in like how we view business, right? But he covers a lot of the things that I'm weak in, and honestly, it's pretty annoying sometimes because not that it's annoying. It's just like I don't like to do certain things, right? I'm not a finance, systems, operations individual. I think it's important, but it's like not necessary, right? You can also like have high level people and pay them too, right? So I don't think it's 100% necessary, and I think you just need to have that confidence that you can have success yourself. And then if you do decide to have a partner, like really see what your guys' roles are and who adds more value, and also get to know them for a while too. Don't just rush into bed with someone. Like, are you gonna start dating a girl after you meet her for a month? Or are you gonna wait like 4 to 5 months to see how they are, right? Because like you're gonna be so excited initially, but okay, 3 to 4 months down the line, how is everything really going with you guys working together?
Right. All right. So just to kind of wrap this all up and everything, what do you think? I heard you like quoting some books and quoting some lyrics you like right now. So this month, what do you think is like a good quote for Kendall this month?
Bro, honestly, this month, that's a great question. It's like, don't know. I like Meek Mill. Like I know you sent me those like Expensive Pain. Like yo, like I like that whole album just like really resonated with me. And like this month, like Q4 is here for me, so really I'm just like focused. What that looks like for me is like just working really hard, working out, eating right. I'm really not trying to travel that much, honestly. Like usually you travel like 2 or 3 times a month, so I'm trying to just like I was just gone for like 5 days in Nashville, Orlando, and some other places. So really just focusing on that and getting ready for quarter 4 and thinking about how next year is going to be. You know what the goals are, the team, the things that I'm going to need to hit my goals. You know.
All right. All right, I like that. So
Let's go. We're ready to wrap it up. Yes, sir.